thank you for joining me, Tea with Mo. Thank you for joining me in the house with us. 23rd of November 2022. So getting to the end of this year's energy. Lots has been happening. Lots of karmic stuff to work through. Lots of stuff rising up to be shown, so you can say, hey, does this continue to serve me? If it doesn't continue to serve me, then I can let it go. I can let it go. If I'm going to let it go, it's always helpful to know what would you like to invite in. And I think this is what happens for a lot of people, is they continue to focus on what they don't want, and that takes up all of their energy, all of their time, and they don't put enough attention to, well, if this is what you don't want, then what do you want? We're coming into 2023. Now is the time that we could start to invite, start to create, and start to manifest. In this density of experience, there's a lag time between your thoughts and then the actual manifestation of them. It's a slower, denser space that light moves through. So there's thought frequency, emotion frequency, and then there's manifestation of that. It ultimately occurs. Some can happen very quickly. Usually there's a bit of a lag time. So let's start creating now. And we just had a beautiful conversation around creating a docu-series. Let's see how far that goes. And even if it doesn't become a full manifestation, look at where you've already gone upon the internal planes. Being creative, going, oh, what do we do there? There's some critical thinking of, oh, we could offer this, and let's just go there. Yeah. So you can do this in each and every moment. And I'm just, in a sense, I had a reminder today, yes, I've got permission that I can do this now. I'm giving you, and not that you need my permission, but here is permission for you to ask and consider what you want for 2023. So, a good way to maybe start the conversation off. There's three things that I wanted to talk about today. One is looking at this love, forgiveness, and compassion. And I wanted to speak about the one, there's a couple of ways of looking at life. And really, literally, there's two ways of looking at life. Right? And I wanted to bring that concept to you and speak about that, and speak about what is the one underlying belief that has the potential to hold the greatest discomfort that you could ever experience. So there's one that sits behind. And then there's another concept I want to talk to you about, encapsulation. We did speak about it last night at the meditation course, so just wanted to bring that into a conversation. And then there's another thing called spiritual decree, and this is very much, and I want to start with this, because this is about your manifesting. This is about your 2023. And what we can consider. I picked up these cards. Alana Fairchild, I believe, is the illustrator. Light Worker Oracle. Pretty groovy. This deck is for those who feel an inner calling to connect with divine light and higher frequencies of consciousness to bring healing to the world. So if you are here as a healer, check out these. I love these cards. The first card that I drew was number 41, Spiritual Decree. Because what I was saying to, the question I was asking was, the question that I was asking was, what's the mission? What's the plan? What's the purpose? Am I on track? That sort of thing. So this is what came back to me, and I just wanted to speak it through, add something to it, so maybe we can all get something from this. So, spiritual decree. You have been... Actually, I'm going to hand that out, and people can just sort of feel into it. Have a look at it. Have a look at what's happening above the person's
Can we show
head.
on here?
You have been wondering what will happen next in your life, not realizing how much power you have to decide that for yourself. What do you wish to happen next? What do you want? Are you willing to use your divine birthrights of free will, voice, and empowerment to set the cosmic wheels in motion? Hello. I love it when everyone here comes here. It's just beautiful. If your answer is yes, then it is time to speak your truth to the universe, decree it, and you shall be it. I found this last one really interesting. If you want to create some stuff, then it's time for you to speak your truth to the universe. I'm a big one on authenticity. I'm really trying to live an authentic life. It's really important to me. In some areas I find that I can't fully be that. In some areas of my life, I notice there's parts of me that feel they can't speak their truth. Notice the energy shift. Okay. This isn't asking you to speak your truth to another. This is asking you to speak your truth to the universe. The universe inside you, the universe outside of you. Everything, consciousness. Speak it, speak your truth to it, because it's in the speaking of it. Both Ali and I have had conversations of, how many people do we need in the centre for tea with Mo to be successful? Is it one person? Is it 2 people? Is it 10 people? Is it 12, 15? And what we found was that it doesn't matter how many people hear your words. What matters is your words have been spoken. Because words are spells, as music is spells. So speak your truth to the universe, decree it, and you shall be it. I won't read all of it, but there's some really powerful bits here. It says, you have been praying for help, asking for a map and wanting directions. You are wise in the way of the receptive, responsive approach to life. It is spiritually mature to trust the greater guiding power of the divine to direct your course. So here's this divine directing your course, and spiritual maturity, it says, for that. And then it adds, and yet the wishes in your heart are part of how that happens. So as much as we're allowing life, we're surrendering to life and divinity to move through us and create this course that's being placed upon our path, what actually defines that course that's being placed upon your path is also a combination of what exists within your heart, and what your heart and the heart of the matter and what you wish to invite into the world. What is it that your heart yearns for? What is it that it wants? And see how that gravity then starts to shift how life is moving through to you. It doesn't direct how. What it does is it colours it. Colours it with a frequency. So there's, in a sense, surrender, and there's free will. It's free will from the heart. And if we look at it from the internal family system's perspective, it's coming from self energy. It's not coming from parts energy. Remember, parts are threat. Self is safe. I already am safe. So we're driving and guiding from that. A destiny, divine destiny is not something that just happens to you, but it is something that you co-create as a living spiritual being with free will and divine love beating in your heart. So there's this co-creation. It's not a passive approach. Oh, this is what I wish. I'm just going to sit back. You are part of the creation. You add movement to it. That's what your life is. That's what makes your life very, very different. You are being honoured for your ability to ask for guidance and wait for signs. You are also being asked to set intention and develop faith in yourself, to trust in what your heart yearns for, what you love so much that you are willing to go through the discomfort of growth, to see it come to life. The discomfort of growth, the catalyst of psychological suffering. Yeah. What type of soul would put themselves through this experience that wrenches their soul, wrenches their heart, pulls them apart into a million pieces, and yet one continues to be there in the trenches, having the experience? It's because what's waiting on the other side of it. And it's the discomfort. That's where the growth is. Growth through suffering and also growth through significance. Great little card set. Perfect. Exactly what I needed. Spiritual decree. Really awoken to me, going 2022, going to 2023. What do you want to bring in? Yeah. Allow it to live and just watch it. It's beautiful. We've got encapsulation, we've got love, forgiveness, compassion. Where are we going to start with that one? Cool. Let's start with the concept of encapsulation and then bring love, forgiveness and compassion into it. So encapsulation, it's not a scientific psychological term. I made it up myself because it was the best way I could describe experiences that were happening for me. Okay, what are we going to call it? Encapsulation. Like we have a capsule, Big Pharma, they're really good at making tablets and capsules. So there's one side that goes on to the other side and it encapsulates whatever is held in it. So it's a container in a sense. Yeah. So let's call it containers. So containers of experience. So what I started to notice, or not started to, what I've noticed more recently, and just coming out of the full moon, the lunar eclipse, the energies of November, and moving into, so coming out of October and then into December as well. Huge growth. So these opportunities of days, they could be weeks, they could be minutes and hours, they could be. So they were groups of time where I started to notice that there was a beginning of something and then an ending of something. All right, so we seem to sometimes, the mind looks at life as this ever-flowing one entity that's just constantly happening until it doesn't happen. Yeah? And what I became more and more aware of is that there's very much a calculated algorithm that life runs by for everybody, I believe, for everybody. And what that is it's constantly showing you parts of yourself that need to be seen, need to be heard. And those parts of yourself are being shown to you at particular times when they feel safe enough that you can see them. Because now it's time to either work with it. So recognize that there could be so let's put it into the example of a pattern. Here's a pattern. Can I recognize the pattern? It started again. It started when this happened. When they did that, when someone did this, I saw something. I then started to notice that there was a beginning of an encapsulated experience. This is a lesson, an opportunity. Right? And life is going, right, what have they got today on? And there's a number of experiences that can be coinciding at the same time, can overlap. One can start and one can finish while another one's starting in the middle of that one before it finishes. And see how now we're starting to get these themes and these stories and these lessons that are coming to us each and every day. And they're presenting something to us that we can see about ourselves. And we then have a choice of continuing to do the same thing or make different choices. And making different choices then leads to different outcomes. There's no right or wrong in choosing to stay the same or to do something different. It's just you've got a choice. If you don't choose to do anything different, then that experience may then reappear when the environment is right again for it to happen. So there's beginnings and then there's endings. And in each of the beginnings and endings, there can also be multiple beginnings and endings. Okay. What we did last night, we did week 4 of a meditation course on mindfulness meditation. We did a concept called meditation microdosing, where you have 3 30-second meditations. And in that meditation, I ask people to consider 3 words. And so if I said to you, could you get me a bowl so you can experience it? Thank you, Alan. So what I'm going to say to you is I'm going to give you 3 words, and 3 words are I love myself. Now, I'm going to ring this bell 3 times, so I'll ring it, I'll give you 30 seconds for you to say those 3 words once. And then I just want you to notice what arises for you in that 30 seconds. And then at the end of that, I'll hit it again. You've got another 30 seconds. And then you have another 30 seconds. So 3 lots of 30 seconds, 90 seconds in total, 3 microdosed meditations. Okay. Are we all good for that? All right. So I'll get you just to close your eyes. Yeah. Just focus on your breath. And out. Yeah. When I hit this bell, then ask or state those 3 words. I love myself. And then notice what happens in the next 30 seconds. Just get you to bring your attention back into the room. Opening your eyes when you're ready. So 3 distinct beginnings, in a sense, and there could have been ends. The third one could have kept on going, but maybe because I've asked you to come back into the room, then there was a stopping to it. Did anybody notice that there was a beginning to one and an end to another, and then another beginning? Yeah? Right. So we've got sound to create that. Okay, think about something else now. Okay, think about something else now. Yeah. So each one of those 30-second periods was an encapsulated experience, an event that happened for you. With the 3 events that happened, Were each event exactly the same? No. So they were different. So now you've had 3 different experiences with 3 different events in the state of, or space of 90 seconds. Because you are mindful of it, you may have noticed that things were arising within you. And maybe those things arose and they activated some emotions. There was thoughts, there was memories. All of a sudden you're having an experience for that 30 seconds. And that 30 seconds could have felt longer than 30 seconds and it could have felt shorter than 30 seconds. So see, now time is warping within your encapsulated experience. Yeah. This happens every day. There is a beginning to an experience and there will be an end to an experience. Some of you are still in the experience of what has arisen, what has been activated, what has also been activated around that, and then how we're trying to potentially resolve it or understand it. And then you'll come to an understanding where you'll then have an end to the experience. Notice how that experience, and I've just recently gone through probably a 10 to 12 day experience, which took me into very, very dark places. And yet I needed to go there, and I have capacity to hold that with self and also others helping me to then see what that experience is trying to show me, or what it can show me. It doesn't try to show me anything. You know? And yet it is showing you something. Up to you how much you want to see of it, what you want to derive from it. So see how life is always giving. It's always giving. It's always giving. It's relentlessly giving. Yeah? And it can be giving in so many ways. So in that moment there was 3 encapsulated experiences which represented the 90-second experience, which is then a part of this larger experience called Tea with Mo. That Tea with Mo is broken down into segments. So see how there's so many encapsulations that are happening. Now, one's mind can just go crazy with this. You know, wow, here's another one, here's another one. However, the essence of what I'm trying to present here is that there's a beginning and an end to everything. Whenever we're in parts, those parts don't think that there's an end. When those parts feel threatened, experiences come up for us and they think this is the way it's going to be for the rest of our lives. There's no changing this. This is what's happening all the time. See how parts get very much caught in the permanency in the way that they look at things. They're not temporary. So if we then start to realise that encapsulated events are temporary because they will rise and they will fall, they will come and they will go, there will be a beginning and an end. And there'll even be a beginning of this life and an end of this life. So if we can start to recognise that this too shall pass, because there will be an end to this encapsulated experience, then I might start to accept more, come to the next place of acceptance rather than resistance. I need to get rid of this. So many times we move away from the things that we need to move toward. We move away because we think that the longer I sit with it, it will get worse. See, we think that it actually increases, when in actual fact, the first experience of it, we get this shock. Whoa, geez, I don't like that and I don't want any more of that, and if I sit with it any longer, it's going to increase. I need to get rid of it. Where in actual fact, we could maybe start to look at it and go, whoa, what was that? There's the beginning of something here that I could listen to, and I might find something out of it. And then as I inquire into it, I then start to see there's other layers to it. Colours are made of other colours. If I then start to, what's the next layer, what's the next layer, then you then start to come to an understanding that the initial shock is only to let you know that something is happening. You have a change in your state. What happened? How did my state change? What is going on? So this beautiful concept of encapsulation happens each and every day. See if you can start to notice where there was, so you've got something going on for you right now. I can guarantee it. Yeah? When did that start? Because there you'll start to find the beginning of this. And then you can track it. And you can look at where you're at now. And you can see where you've been since it started to where you're at now. And what has been arriving. What have you been pushing away? What have you come to the acceptance of? So you're going to have an encapsulated experience. So when we notice it, then we can bring in love, forgiveness, and compassion as a form of acceptance rather than resistance. Yeah? So the beautiful thing about love, compassion, and forgiveness, it's a neutralizer. It brings everything back to one point. It takes the sting out of things and yet honours the sting that was created. So it's not minimizing, it's not erasing. There's two ways to live life through the eyes. Albert Einstein said the most important decision that you will make is if you believe that you live in a universe that is hostile and unfriendly, or you believe you live in a universe that is friendly and supportive. There's only two ways to live life. That's it. When it comes to accepting what is being placed upon your path, rather than resisting it, the two ways to live life in those spaces is that there is not enough love, or there is always more love. Now, when there's not enough love, not enough respect, not enough kindness, not enough of whatever it is, we have a pie, and there's slices of pies. So I'm giving this slice of pie to this family member, this slice of pie to this family member, to this group of people, to my work, a little bit to me. So see, we're slicing the pie up. Now the pie is a finite pie. It can only be sliced up into a certain number, and each time you slice it, you add slices to it, each slice gets smaller and smaller. So naturally we can see the lack as it's dwindling away. When we start to look at the perspective that there's always more love, it's like the bottomless cup of coffee or drink, whatever it is. It's like the pie that continues to regenerate itself. So when we're caught up in frustration, resistance, I can't let go, this isn't fair, or we start to feel like the victim, yeah? We're seeing it from a space of lack, we're seeing it from a space of there is not enough love. And when that is the space that we come from, then I would also suggest that we're coming from parts. It's coming from threat, it's coming from fear. It's not the essence of you, it's not self-energy, because self-energy actually sees that it is whole. There's always more love, there's always more compassion, and I can forgive. Now, it's interesting, the word forgiveness, because we need to be very mindful of what is our definition of forgiveness. How do we define forgiveness? In a course of miracles, they talk about it in a really beautiful passage. I don't have it with me, but the key line is suggesting that both forgiveness and salvation are part of the same illusion. So for me to forgive somebody for something, I would have to first perceive that I was done a wrong. Now, that can be very activating for people. When we start to see it from a non-dual perspective, that you are love, there is always more love, and that you've actually turned up on this planet playing the human being, you are a spiritual being having a human experience, that significant events in your life, there may even be a predetermination to them, an agreement that sits with it. And through that, maybe I could then start to see that there is the potential that I have never been harmed. Because what is it that gets harmed? Is it the true essence of me, or is it the persona? Is it the identity of the ego? Is it who I think that I am? Who I thought I needed to be in that moment? Now once again, I'm not dismissing anyone's experiences in the human form. And I'm not certainly trying to erase the ego, because the ego, or the parts, all come from self. They're protective in nature. They all serve beautiful roles. They all have great value. What I am trying to do is offer you an opportunity to have dual perspective. A dual perspective where you see yourself as consciousness having a human experience, and that consciousness is love. And that every other soul that you interact with in this life, you have already had an agreement with on a soul level. And whatever harms that you may perceive that they have done to you have actually been done from a loving space, from a soul level, because there's always more love. What's that? You want me to be the perpetrator in this experience for me? Are you sure you want that? Yes. Because I love you so much, because this is part of this agreement, because this is the experience that you want to perceive that you are having, then I will be that for you. Notice what's arising for you as I say these words, because these words can be very challenging to the people who we think have harmed us. How could I look at them as loving me? You don't understand what they've done to me, Rose. Notice what's arising. If I give my love to one person, then have I taken my love away from another? Or can I have love for this brother and still love this brother? I would like to think that I can, and I do. There's always more love. I'm always with the ones that I love in a non-physical form. If I think that by giving one love to another brother takes away from the love from another brother, I am coming from the space of there is not enough love. There's only a certain amount. Now I have to divide it, proportioned to the priorities and the values. So think about this concept that there's always more love, there's abundance, there is always more of what we perceive that we are lacking. Imagine bringing that into these encapsulated events that you have, that you may see through the eyes that there is not enough. I am not enough. And when we start to bring that to these times, we can then start to feel into, hang on, there's always more love, because that's actually what I am. And I can see this experience in another space, another place, another dimension, if you want to look at it from that perspective. Now the key is that we don't just use this, there's always more love, to brush away events, experiences that cause discomfort. Oh, it's okay, we're all love and there's always more love. Don't worry. I don't need to apologise. I don't have to forgive. It's all good. Or I forgive that straight away. Because it's the dual awareness. It's the consciousness experience and the human experience. If I say to somebody, I apologise if my words have upset you, it would be a suggestion that I'm showing consideration for another. And I can see that the words that I have maybe said have impacted you in a way that was not intended. So I want to honour it and I want to acknowledge that. I'm not necessarily saying that I have harmed you. What I am saying is I acknowledged how my words, how my actions may have been perceived as harming. So we're not trying to move away from it. And we're also recognising that, everything's actually perfect. The way things have planned out for you today, I just want you to briefly reflect on where you're at today, what's happened, what's brought you here. Whose day was smooth sailing, everything went to plan. We had it all sorted out and this is exactly how it played out. Have I got any takers on that? Alright, we've got 50-50 and yes, we've got a winner, bingo, down the back there. Give that man a prize. Yeah. Okay. And one of the reasons why I'd probably inquire into that was, why was it that it flowed? Why was it that it actually went to plan? Was it because I didn't really have a plan and I was more so in the moment? So then that would, and I'm getting a nod from the gentleman in the back of the row, yes. So maybe through that there's a greater sense of acceptance rather than resistance. Oh, okay, this is happening. Oh, okay, this is happening. Okay, this is happening. Yes, noticing arisings, but yes, this is happening. Maybe that's why things went to plan. Maybe where I got a bit of a 50-50 over here from the gentleman in the front row, good looking chap as well, there was 50% of acceptance of what was happening, and maybe there was 50% of resistance that was happening that maybe the mind thought should have happened or shouldn't have happened. Can you notice today when things didn't go to plan, did you just accept them or did you resist them? Because when we notice parts are resisting them, hey, what's going on here? That shouldn't be here. They should have done this and this, There's this sense of this is how it shouldn't be. It should have been in another way. Could we then overlay this beautiful perspective of there is always more love, there is always more time, there's always more acceptance, there's always more understanding. Now, just to complete this and finish it off too, is that where there is always more love, it's very open and expansive. Where there is only a certain amount of love, it's quite constrictive and it's quite finite and it's encapsulated within itself. Out of those two perspectives, which one do you think would be the container for the other? Do you think that there is always more love would be able to hold there's only a certain amount of love? Or do you think that there's only a certain amount of love would hold there's always more love? I'm curious. Which one do you think would be larger, more expansive container to support the other? Or do you think that they'd be the same?
Perhaps it's both.
Perhaps it's both. And in the world of non-duality, winner for the lady in the front. Initially I thought there's always more love would be the container to hold there's only a certain amount. Because I think that would exist within that. Don't know if there's always more love would exist in there's not enough love. I don't know.
It's interesting that you think about you using the word a container, so it contains that idea.
Yes.
So there would be something that restricts that.
Yes.
So the restriction would be in thinking that there's a limited amount of love.
Yes, yes.
Which is holds in the idea, but there's there is unlimited love.
That's right, yeah. And maybe the container could be considered outside and inside.
Yeah.
And there, I don't even know if there needs to be a delineation of where that is, sort of thing. Yeah.
There is no container.
There is no container. There is no spoon. Yes. Well, there's a truth to that as well. Yeah. All right. Let's summarise it. Coming into end of 2022, moving into 2023. Yeah. What a wonderful year it's been. Really. It's been mixing up the waters, and lots has been happening in the world, internal worlds as well. Good to take stock, good to consider what do I want to invite into 2023, because really it's just around the corner, it's just over the hill. Yeah? Very, very close. We've got a bit of a lag time within the third density, fourth density manifesting of thoughts, emotions before something is placed there, and can come quite quickly, so let's consider all options there. Looking at the spiritual decree, speak your truth to the universe. Speak the truth of your heart. Say it internally, say it externally. If you want to share it with somebody, then do that as well. The universe is going to hear it. Don't worry about the how. The universe is such there's such an intelligence to the universe that it has access to everything. We only have access to what we believe can happen. So just really put it out there. As much as we're saying the words that the heart resonates to, and then we're feeling that, because remember, it's the emotion. That's where the gravity sits, is your emotion, frequency wise. Notice these encapsulations of events that happen, and each one can have great significance. You are all going through something at the moment with an encapsulation. And it doesn't have to be negative in nature either, it's not, let's just get into the shadow work. It's like, oh wow, I found this and this is really wonderful. When did I find that? Well, there was a beginning to it. Yeah. Okay, cool. And also there'll be an end to it, and that's okay. I don't need to hold on to it. Is the same as I don't need to get rid of it. You see, it's so Buddhism, equanimity, the equanimous. Notice where you are accepting and maybe flowing through the day. Notice where you're resisting. Once again, it's not you're good that you're accepting and you're bad that you're resisting. Just notice what's happening. Oh, I resisted that. That was interesting. What was I resisting? What brought that into it? Where there's resistance, so there's movement. So for me to create movement anywhere, even if I want to move forward, I actually need to create resistance in my body. If I want to step up, I'm creating resistance against the floor. See, resistance is important for movement. Movement promotes growth. There's nothing wrong with resisting stuff, just be aware that you're resisting it. Resist it, see why you're resisting it, come to an acceptance of it, and then wait for the next encapsulation. One way that we can come to an acceptance of it is to use this paradigm, belief system, that there's always more love, there's always more, whatever it is that your parts are perceiving that is lacking. And don't forget to have fun as well, because this could be quite serious and stuff. All right. Yeah. So that's where we're at. Good timing there. 23rd of November. It's master number 22-4. So some really significant stuff has potentially been placed upon your path today that are reflective of the numbers of the day as well.
It's foundational master builder number.
Foundational master builder number. What are you creating
Correct.
From these foundations? Something to consider. What are you creating for next year from these foundations moving forward? What are you building? Who are you co-creating with? All right, thank you. Signing off. Out.